My name is Walter Joseph, and today I will debate absolute justice with 20 superheroes. My first claim is that justice must focus on victims, not criminals.
Krypton had a system where the council executed anyone they deemed a threat to stability. My family disagreed with the council. They were accused of sedition, executed without trial. That system killed innocent people because the powerful had authority to kill. If I become that authority, I create the same machine. The courts protect criminals because innocent people get accused. When power concentrates in one person, that person decides who lives.
You describe your family's execution like it was similar to releasing a murderer. It is not. Your ancestors disagreed politically. A man who kills is not disagreeing. He is predating. When a serial killer is convicted based on physical evidence and confession, that is different from your family's trial. The system failed because evidence was fake. The system failed because the council had power to manufacture guilt. But evidence that is real, that is repeatable, that is documented through multiple sources, that is not a Kryptonian show trial, that is proof.
Proof is subjective. Two detectives look at the same evidence and reach different conclusions. A jury deliberates and 9 vote guilty while 3 vote innocent. If I execute based on conviction, I execute based on jury certainty. But juries are wrong. I have seen it. Released innocent people years later through new evidence. Once you execute, you cannot undo it. The system must allow for correction. That protection matters more than swift justice.
You fear being wrong so much that you protect those who are provably right to be executed. A man admits his guilt, leads police to hidden bodies. His DNA matches victims. Physical evidence confirms his presence. That is not jury interpretation. That is reality. Yet the system can still release him on appeal. On technicality, the killer walks free because a lawyer found procedural error. The victims stay dead. You prioritize the theoretical innocent man over the actual dead ones. My next claim is that, if punishment is not final, it is not justice by definition.
I want to make it very clear that I agree with finishing criminals, but the other perspective has its own validity. For instance, I killed a drug distributor in New York, destroyed his operation, thought I was done. A lieutenant took control, expanded the territory, killed more people. The operation grew worse. If I had captured him instead of executing him, I could have arrested the entire network using him as witness. Instead, I created a power vacuum and a more vicious replacement. That man's death did not end the drug trade. It accelerated it. I learned that killing one person does not solve systematic problems. It just shifts them.
You failed because you acted alone. You killed one man and expected a network to collapse. That is not how justice works. A network requires dismantling. You killed the lieutenant but allowed the distribution lines to remain. You let the suppliers continue. You let the buyers continue. The network survived because you stopped halfway. That is not proof that execution fails. That is proof that incomplete action fails. Execution combined with network destruction is final. You provided only execution.
Dismantling a network means executing hundreds, maybe thousands. You want me to kill the entire supply chain. The dealers, the addicts, the sellers. That is genocide. That is not justice. That is just bigger killing. A better approach is to disable the network while keeping the leader alive. Keep him contained. Use his knowledge to continue dismantling. You want absolute finality, I want actual results. Killing everyone is easy. Building something better is hard.
You describe the cost of complete action as though it is impossible. But after the Cold War, entire intelligence networks were dismantled. Agents were dispersed. Operations were shut down. It happened without genocide. A network can be disabled through targeted removal of key nodes. You killed one dealer and called yourself done. That is lazy execution. True final justice means removing the entire structure that enables the crime. You stopped too early and blamed execution for the incompleteness. My next claim is that, if a system cannot stop repeat villains, it should be retired.
If I execute the first Hydra agent I capture, I become a murderer. If I execute the second, I am on a path. If I execute the 10th, I have lost what I fought for. The system failed to contain them, but that does not give me permission to become judge and executioner. If I accept that logic, then every frustration with the legal system becomes permission to kill. That slope ends in a fascist state. That slope is how heroes become villains.
You describe slope as inevitable, but slope only exists if you fail to distinguish categories. A murderer with confirmed pattern is not the same as political prisoner. A repeat escaper is not the same as first-time offender. You collapse all categories into one and call them equal. But they are not. A Hydra agent who has escaped 4 times has proven something. He has proven the system cannot contain him. At what point does his track record matter? At what point does his own actions prove he is beyond containment?
I have contained Hydra repeatedly. Yes, they returned, but I learned from each return. Better security, better intelligence, better planning. The system improves through failure. If I give up on the system and start executing, I destroy the possibility of improvement. I also destroy the possibility of being wrong. I cannot execute an innocent person and then improve. That death is final. The system's failures are temporary. I choose temporary failure over permanent execution.
You have contained Hydra in fiction. In reality, repeat threats persist. A serial criminal named Berkowitz killed 13 people. Between arrests, he was released, evaluated as low risk, released again. This happened 5 times before he was finally permanently stopped. Each release was based on system improvement. Each release was justified by progress, but people still died. The system's temporary failure killed them. You call that acceptable? Those 13 bodies are the cost of your faith. My next claim is that evil understands force, not mercy or forgiveness.
I once faced a demon that appeared to be unstoppable. Every weapon made it stronger. Every exorcism backfired. I finally understood it was not attacking. It was defending. It was protecting something. Once I understood what it wanted, I left without violence. A human killer is different from a demon, but the principle holds. A man kills because something is broken in him. Pain, trauma, neurological damage. If you only use force, you confirm his belief that force is how to survive. If you show him another way, he might change. Force teaches him he was right.
You describe understanding as universal solution, but understanding assumes capacity for change. A man born without certain neural connections cannot develop them. A man who experiences pleasure from inflicting pain cannot stop experiencing it through conversation. He can suppress it. He can hide it. He can pretend to change, but the underlying structure remains. You offer him therapy. He studies the therapy. He learns what the therapist wants to hear. He leaves prison and kills again. That is not force failing. That is your understanding failing. Some people cannot change because their baseline is wrong.
No one is incapable of change. The brain is plastic. Neural pathways rewire. A man's pleasure response can be redirected through medication. His impulses can be suppressed through conscious effort. It takes time. It takes work. But it is possible. If you execute based on your assessment of his baseline, you eliminate the person before they have chance to transform. You kill the possibility. That is what execution does. It closes off futures that might have led to redemption.
You offer possibility. But possibility is luxury. The victim has no possibility. She is dead. Her family has no possibility of her returning. They have only the knowledge that her killer might change, might be redeemed, might discover medication that works. These possibilities exist while their daughter remains dead. You ask them to accept their loss for the sake of the killer's potential. That is backwards. The killer's potential is less valuable than the victim's certainty. Execution prioritizes the certain over the possible. That is the correct calculation. My next claim is that a hero who repeatedly spares the same villain is responsible for that villain's future crimes.
I was born to be a killer, trained to be a killer, became a mercenary killer. Then I changed. Not completely, not perfectly, but I became less killer and more person. If I was executed for being what I was, you would have killed who I could become. Execution assumes stasis, assumes the person you kill is the person they will always be. But I am living proof that is wrong. People transform. People grow. I am less broken now than I was. I am becoming better. Execute me and you eliminate that possibility. That is what you rob.
You are the exception. You are one man who changed. But the statistics show something different. Of murderers released from prison, 70% reoffend within 5 years. 70%. Not 30. Not 40, 70. You survived. But 70 other men did not. They return to killing. You want to base justice on the one who changed. I want to base it on the 70 who did not. Your transformation does not justify releasing the others. It just means you are lucky.
70% reoffend. 30% do not. Those 30% are real. Some of them were as broken as I was. Some of them killed for the same reasons I killed. But they changed. They became different. You want to execute all 100 to prevent the 70 from killing again. But you eliminate the 30 who would have become good. That math is wrong. That math says dead certainty is better than living possibility. I disagree.
Your disagreement is built on hope. Hope that rehabilitation works. Hope that people change. Hope that the system can fix broken things. But hope is not data. The data shows 70 reoffend. 70 create new victims. Those new victims exist because you chose to release the 70. You gambled with their lives. You lost. And they paid for your faith. The 30 who did not reoffend would have not killed anyway. Execution prevents the 70 from creating new corpses. That is the calculation that matters.